What's your official title, and how do you describe what you do to someone who asks? Maybe you have like a quick sentence or two elevator pitch type thing.
Sure, yeah. So my official title is I'm the Chief Product Officer at YouTube. I've been at Google and YouTube a very long time at this point, coming up on a decade and a half. And, the way I describe my role is all the products that you as a creator, all of our viewers around the world, all of our partners use on a daily basis, that's ultimately my team's responsibility. So I look after our products from the main app to YouTube Kids to the music app to YouTube TV, all of the user design and the aesthetics of the product. And I also am responsible for what we call trust and safety, which are our community guidelines and content policies that govern the content on our platform.
Got it. Yeah, YouTube is, when you put it like that, it's a lot of different products that all work together. There's tons of things happening. But you mentioned design and UI, so I'll just jump right to it. You guys got rid of the dislike button or the dislike counter about, how long ago was that? A few months ago?
A few months ago now. I'm almost coming up on a year, actually, at this point.
Okay.
I figured you were going to ask me about that.
You got it. You invite me here. You know what I'm going to get into. How's that gone? And what sort of processes go into making a decision like that? And do you think it went the way you expected?
Yeah. So on the first part of your question, and I know you of course had a very strong point of view on it, and the thesis, as you rightly pointed out in all of your comments, was a well-being thesis for our creators. That was the fundamental reason. It was about everything from dislike brigades to, kind of that sort of count Olympics, likes, dislikes, that sort of thing. And it was not a trivial decision. And I'll get into kind of the decision-making process in a second, because I think that was like a canonical example of sometimes how some of these hard decisions are made. But in terms of how it's going, I think that at the highest level, it's going the way that we expected it to, which is we feel, or at least I feel, that it was the right decision based on the data that we're seeing. And so we looked at a couple of things. We looked at it, one, from the creator standpoint, which was this notion of dislike brigades and things like that. And that is down. So when we look at sort of the same period year on year, so I think we looked at most recently, I think the last month, so kind of August, September of 2022 versus August, September of 2021, It is down. Now, of course, that's not a controlled experiment, but it is something that we looked at year on year. And that was something that was kind of the creator-facing metric that I was interested in looking at.
Yeah.
The second thing, though, which I think you alluded to in your video, which I think was something that I wanted to track, because it was a good point, which is, how is that signal used, like the glance at sort of point that you were making around ratios, et cetera. And we have seen, again, year on year, sort of roughly the same time period, user satisfaction with the videos. And we measure this in a number of different ways, not just behaviorally, but as you know, you've seen the surveys that show up in the feed, sometimes asking about specific videos.
Yep.
That number has gone up year on year. Now, again, that's not a controlled number. And there's lots of factors that can go into whether that number goes up or not. One of them being just we're getting better at recommending content or search ranking and those types of things.
Goes up a lot.
But we have an idea of sort of roughly how it goes up. And those things, those changes to ranking and recommendation tweaks, those are controlled experiments. And so we are able to understand sort of what those add up to. And I think that our feeling is that looking at a number of these signals, it at the very least hasn't had the impact that people were worried about in terms of people not being able to find the right videos and searches and things like that. And so those are I'm just giving you sort of ballpark of some of the metrics we're looking at. We'll continue to monitor that to see if that continues. But that's sort of roughly how it's going. On your second question, what I would say there is that I think it's a good example of the types of decisions that we make and that ultimately come to me. I always say that, if a decision's coming to me to make in a product review or what have you, oftentimes it's a choice between two bad options or two not perfect options. Otherwise, the decision would be made at multiple parts of our organization. And this was an example of a very difficult decision because it involved a lot of the trade-offs that you made. And so the teams put together proposals when we were getting this feedback from creators and the like. We looked at a number of different options, things that we could do, and ultimately we made the hard call that when push comes to shove, one of the things that we will err on the side of is the well-being of our creators. And that is, ultimately a decision that was made in, product review with not just me, but our product managers, our leaders from other functions across YouTube. Once we got some of the data, some of the feedback, and then we also at that point committed that we would follow this over time as well.
Right. Yeah. From my perspective, it seems like it's something that's sort of averaging out, it's evening out. The behaviors are now, it looks normal again. Every time there's a UI change on YouTube, it takes a minute before it's not jarring anymore to me because I use YouTube so much. But a really interesting point that you made, and I think I've maybe heard some other executives say something along the same lines, which is like, if a decision gets to me, then it's probably a really hard decision because there's so many people who work on these things. And if it's getting to the highest level without a resolution, it's a big call for you. How do you know when something is big enough to get to that level? Because when I think of YouTube as a bunch of different products, there's inevitably like little bugs or like little things that pop up here and there, maybe worth acting on, maybe not worth putting time into. How do you know when something is actually a big decision coming to you that you'll eventually have to make a choice on?
Yeah, it's a really good question. And the way I think about my role, not just in terms of sort of helping make those decisions or tie breaking or what have you, is setting up the mechanisms so that process actually happens smoothly. And for me, I think it comes down to kind of three things. One is about the people. So we need to build an organization that is full of talented people, obviously focused on our creators and viewers and looking to do the right thing. If we don't have the right people building our products on a daily basis, then none of this matters, right? That's the bedrock of everything. But then I think there's two other things. One is having a set of principles. And so one of the ways that I like to think about YouTube is we have a set of core principles, whether it comes to our product decisions, our policy decisions, things like YouTube is an open platform, but we also have community guidelines. Those are two principles that are in tension, but they work together to also reinforce each other. Creators come first in terms of how we think about the heart of YouTube and what it is. And I have found that having crystal clarity on those principles and repeating them over and over is sort of the lifeblood of a product organization, because then product managers generally are empowered to make decisions along the lines of those principles. And there's thousands of decisions being made every day on behalf of viewers and creators. Yep. So that way, not everything bubbles up to me. And then the final thing is, besides people and principles, is just having sort of the right processes in place by which those things get escalated very quickly so that they don't fester. I think one of the things that is poison in an organization, a product development organization, is decisions festering because people feel like they need to bring a consensus decision to me as opposed to two competing viewpoints. And so having the processes by which it is okay to escalate those and escalate those quickly, I think is very important.
Makes a lot of sense. I'm probably going to have to use these tips in future organizations I'm a part of. But I think one of the things that's always struck me about YouTube is, and you've said it already a couple times, it's a very creator-first, creator-facing organization, and especially with tech and other companies. We've seen Twitter and Instagram and TikTok and all these others. We're speaking at the Creator Summit right now, which is something I don't see other companies doing for some reason. I think it's a great idea.
And we're doing it in person.
And it's in person, which is, it's crazy. It's been 2 or 3 years since the last one. But I also wonder, and I've wanted to ask someone at YouTube this for a long time, in this 2022 world of, I guess it feels more visible than ever that people kind of chase the algorithm in a way that rewards them, but it also shifts their content and the way they run their businesses. And I'm curious if you think about the decisions that you make at YouTube and how they affect what creators will then go try to do to keep up or to match it. So there's algorithmic changes that happen all the time, whether it's switching from views to watch time to whatever. And inevitably you see not just optimizations from creators, but like full on like chasing the absolute maximum of it. Do you think about that at all with the way creators sort of push it to the extreme?
Yeah, I think that's a really great question. And actually, I think it gets at the heart of how we think about our products. I think about what YouTube is like we're really building a stage for you as a creator to do what you do best, to show off your talents, and it's got to be the world's best stage. And then also, with the best seating, lighting, etc., so that the viewers can enjoy it as well. And so that's the analogy. But to take your very specific point, I think it's an important one because we believe, and this goes back to the principles point I was making before, that our job is to help our creators succeed over the long run, to build careers on our platform. And so what that means is that it's not about, kind of like sugar rush, flavor of the moment kind of a thing, whatever's happening in terms of the algorithm or some particular trend or what have you. Obviously, those are important. Lots of trends obviously start on YouTube, but it's about the long run. And so like one example that I like to use is, a creator on our platform, a creator, an artist or what have you, can use YouTube Shorts to introduce their audience to a new idea. It might be a new song, it might be something else. And that's 15 seconds, 30 seconds, and that can bring in lots of interest. But very quickly, the fans might be interested in learning not just about that neat trick or that song, but who that creator is. And that's about, long form content. That might be about a live stream. That might be about, engaging with the creator in comments or after stage or in posts or in stories. And so because we have this sort of truly multi-format approach to our creators, we believe that we're offering kind of that full suite to their fans to really get to know the creator. And it's about the creator, it's about their name, who they are, what they stand for, as opposed to, what's happening this week. And that's like a really, really important thing that I think is really core to YouTube. And every time I talk to creators, that's the thing that I hear over and over. I was just with some shorts creators yesterday, and that's the thing that they kept telling me is like, that's the essence of YouTube. Never let that go when it comes to your product decisions. And so I just, it's a long answer to your question, but I wanted to kind of describe that because it is a core principle.
Like button, like button, like button, like button. So leave a lot of comments.
Truck TikTok. Watching that clip.
Like it, like it.
Rock TikTok.
Everyone should be pressing the like button on this video.
Subscribe. September.
Like it.
You just want to click. You just want to click. Subscribe. Hit the red button.
You know what? Click it. Comment
that you are typing right now.
Click subscribe.